how many voting members.
Compare us.
No. Answer the question. How many voting members in the United States House of Representatives, Republican, Democrat, and Independent? How many total?
How many total are there? What is it? 600 some?
No, it's 435.
Plus 100 in the Senate, right?
100. Yes, I said House of Representatives.
That was Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein earlier this month on the Breakfast Club radio show in New York, unable to answer correctly how many members are in the House of Representatives. Let's bring in...
She's only 150 off.
Oh, my God. Let's bring in editor-at-large at Newsweek, Tom Rogers. His latest piece is entitled, Jill Stein Blew It for Hillary Clinton. Will she do the same for Harris? Let's start there. Will she?
Well, all the focus went off of third-party candidates when RFK Jr. dropped out. But there's real peril there for Kamala Harris in terms of what remains. Jill Stein was responsible for Hillary Clinton not making it to the White House. Her margin, say in Michigan, was 50,000 votes, and Trump only won by 10,000 votes there. And the whole Trump math is that we know Trump has a ceiling, whether it's 47%, 48%. So he needs to have somebody siphon off votes from the Democratic candidate in order to win by plurality. And Jill Stein being on the ballot in all the swing states but Nevada is really in a position when we know that the swing states are going to come down to 1-2% margins.
Hey, so Tom, just to talk about how this has really changed American history, especially this century, without Ralph Nader taking a couple of percentage points from Al Gore in 2000, and Jill Stein taking a couple of percentage points from Hillary Clinton in 2016, Democrats would have won the Electoral College. Well, they won the popular vote 7 of the last 8, but minus those two, like third-party spoiler candidates, no Republican would have been elected president since 1992.
Absolutely right. And it's not only the Stein threat, but Cornel West is on the ballot in Wisconsin and Michigan, North Carolina and Georgia. And so there's a double threat there. There's also a Libertarian candidate on all the swing state ballots. Unclear who a Libertarian candidate pulls from. Gary Johnson, the Libertarian candidate in 2016, actually polled more than Jill Stein did. But we do know that Biden in 2020 was able to actually increase his margin while Trump's margin stayed the same as 2016, meaning Biden's increased margin over Trump probably came off the back of not having Stein on the ballot in 2020 and getting that share of third-party votes.
Tom, help me understand, and our viewers understand, that what is the point of the third-party candidates? What are they trying to represent? Why are they there? You know, I ran in 2004, and I decided to run in the primaries. I didn't think I was going to be president because we was right after 9/11. But I wanted to be in the debates. I wanted to bring out issues that I felt would not be discussed. What is their point of running? They were not in the debates because they're not running in the primaries. So, I mean, what is the point other than they end up messing up someone that may be closer to their politics than the other?
Well, I think you asked the money question. I don't think there is a point other than to be a spoiler. They make the argument that they represent viewpoints that need to be on the ballot to give voters a choice, even though they know they have no chance whatsoever of winning or no chance of even getting any electoral college votes. But it's very clear in the case of Jill Stein in 2016, the Russians, through their social media efforts, were very much promoting her. It's very clear that both Stein and West have benefited when it comes to signature collection to get on the ballot in swing states, that Republican-connected Trump lawyers have been involved in their efforts, and Republican money looks like it's at the heart of getting West on the ballot. So these are spoiler efforts. candidates. And anybody who thinks about voting third party, whether they're voting because they don't think Harris is progressive enough, they don't like her position on Gaza, they think because of fracking she's not green enough, all they are doing is electing Donald Trump president. And anybody who knows, a neighbor, a friend, anybody who says, I don't like either candidate, I think I'm going to vote third party, let them know they are electing Donald Trump if they do that.
The piece is online now for Newsweek. Editor-at-large Tom Rogers, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. We appreciate it.